Well, what I want you to think about, so I know there are lots of people here who are NLP practitioners or will have had some exposure to NLP, and I'm not going to talk about it in those terms, because what we found is when we go into the terms of NLP, then a lot of people, the hardened coaches want to go into the specifics of it, and we're not here to teach NLP. Then the other side of it is people are like, okay, I'm completely lost. I don't know where we're going. So I want you to think of this in terms of two things. I want you to think about, and you may have heard this term before, about operating above the line and operating below the line. So I want you to imagine an imaginary line. If you don't have me on speaker view, just put me on speaker view where I can share this with you. But so if we've got the middle of my screen is there's above the line and below the line. I want you to think of above the line as being anything that is really empowered. So literally anything that is proactive. You're taking accountability, you're taking responsibility for your life. And then anything that is below the line is you're operating more from that place of negativity and being that little bit probably in victim mode or maybe blaming others. So there's a difference in your state when you're operating above the line as opposed to operating below the line. Now, none of us, while we're all sitting here and thinking, oh, well, I'd love to operate above the line all the time. That's not how we operate in life. There are some, where, you might be firing in all cylinders. I'm doing great this morning. And then one of the kids has a sneeze while eating Wheat Bix all over my work clothes. So that's happened. True story, folks. It's like you're just about to walk out the door. So then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm going to get cranky and I'm going to go downhill and I'm just going to start blaming the world for why does this have to happen just as I'm about to walk out the door. The reality is we spend our life operating above the line, below the line, above the line, below the line, and at varying degrees. But what I want you to consider is the more time when we think of this, and if you're a visual person, this is actually a really helpful thing to do. You're thinking, oh, how can I spend more time above the line than below the line? So now I want you to think about, say you've all bought tickets to a keynote speaker. And I want you to think of that keynote speaker being someone who operates below the line. What would that keynote speaker feel like to you? What are some things that they might say? Even a person, it doesn't have to be a keynote speaker. Just think of some people in your life that may operate below the line. What are some things that they say? Go ahead, Rebecca, just come off mute. This is a free for all.
So they may have negative language or blaming language that they're using in their talk. Yeah.
Can you give me an example of that? And this doesn't have to be a keynote speaker. This can be someone that you have to deal with. Could be someone at work, could be a family member. We all have people like this in our lives.
Yeah, they may have excuses about everything that goes on in their life without taking personal responsibility. They've always got something else to blame.
Yeah, very good, very good. What else? Go ahead,
I have
Laura.
an example for that. It's your fault. I didn't say that. You're misunderstanding me.
Gaslighting.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And if you have anyone in your life like that, or even someone who just when they're having a bad day dips into that, and that they may lash out at us. But when you think of operating below the line, knowing that if you are going to be that person, how effective a keynote speaker or influencer are you going to be? Yeah. It's very hard to, and you do see people. So like someone had mentioned, and I can't remember who used the word preaching earlier on, because sometimes when you feel that you're being talked at, you're being preached at, they're generally from the people who are coming that little bit below the line. They're coming across in a way that you can feel it energetically, that you're resisting what they have to say. So the reason that we talk about this is to help you visualize where are you at any moment in time? And okay, if I'm operating below the line, how do I get myself back up above the line? Also, for those of you who are writing keynote speeches, who are creating pitches, who are writing a book, who are doing a presentation for, you know, for your board, for some of your leadership team, or for, you know, a public forum, then if you review your keynote, review your content, and just think to yourself, oh, is this content above the line or is it below the line? And some of us will find, particularly when it's things that we're passionate about, sometimes we end up coming below the line without actually realizing it. So just getting used to visualizing and having this as be one of the habits that you build for yourself. So now I want to shift. So we've spoken about what below the line is. What does above the line look like and sound like? Give me some examples of that.
I'm having a great day. I went and presented. It was awesome. Everyone was happy. Everyone was engaged. I got great feedback. People bought my course and my program. I made a shit ton of money, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, a shit ton of money. It's like all of those things, because there's even, you know, reading between the lines there's so much gratitude there as well. It's like there's gratitude. There's like, hey, this is my life. Somebody pinch me. So instead of being, when you're below the line, you're in that victim and blaming and negative space. So what else? Just think about some of the language, or even just think of some of the people who are inspiring in your life and what kind of language that they give when they're operating above the line. Or behaviors. Go ahead, Laura.
One thing that always stands out to me is people who that they're not alone. They're very grateful for the people in their lives. Like Sam, I remember I asked him a question at the preview event, and he was like, oh, well, I can only do what I do because I have an amazing group behind me, an associate who keep me in check, and like a board of, not his board of directors, because I know he has one, but his not official board, who keep him accountable. And it just reminds me that, like, often if you're feeling that level of empowerment, it's because you have those people in the village, let's call it.
Yes. Yes, beautiful way of having that. And again, it's like, if you're below the line, you're probably in a little bit more egocentric, and you're thinking either it's all about me or it's the pointing the finger at someone else as well. Whereas the we mentality, the greater good mentality, that resides above the line. Great example. What else? Just thinking through. I want you to think through. I want all of you to come up with some ideas as we're going through these different habits to confidence sections. So maybe what are some of the behaviors? What will we see from people, how they're operating when they're operating above the line?
I'll use an example of this person at work. He's quite senior, and when he joined the company, I think everyone instantly knew him as the guy who was just full of energy. And recently, when he shared the People Pulse survey, which is just, you know, what people generally think about the company, the culture, even when the results are sort of dipping, he just managed to turn it around. And he just focuses on the good things rather than the negatives. But
Yes.
factually, you can see like where the graph is heading. But at the same time, I think that's just who he is. Like, he just wants to express, and I mean, express in a way that's aligned to how he sees the future, rather than focusing on what's happening now. I think it's a good skill to have, and definitely is someone that I find inspiring.
That's it's great to get an example as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just see Rachel say, yeah, glass half full types. And it's like, but also, so I'm just going to preface this with, you can have people like that, and they're always looking at, you know, yeah, the optimism, the greater good, and things that are fantastic. And yes, that resides above the line. But also, if you're doing that because you're avoiding, then avoidance lives below the line. So there is just feeling into what is it that person is actually, you know, and you feel that in your gut. We feel that energetically. We know, like, if you resonate with the person, usually it is because they have the best intention. They're operating above the line. Whereas if it was someone who was, oh gosh, this is an uncomfortable conversation because I need to talk about month-end results, and I'm just going to talk about something else, or I'm going to, you know, avoid the conversation and make it all positive and, you know, sunshine and roses, that that's not necessarily going to be the best thing either, because people know that, you know, life comes with dark and shade, it comes with light and dark, it comes with all sorts of variabilities. So, you know, we can't make everything seem positive, because then, you know, you hear about toxic positivity as well. It's like, those are the things that you can sense into too. But really good example, Kat, because I think we all have, you know, and if we don't have people that we work with like that, we'd like to, you know, having people that kind of build people up and actually cheerlead us on.
So-
What else? Any other?
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Someone was.
I was just going to build on that as well, if I may. For me, it's those people as well that are vulnerable and share their experiences when they have operated below the line, but they're now consciously aware of it and they're taking ownership for it. For me, that's extremely empowering.
Yes, yes. And you know what? I believe that a lot of the people who come to Speakers Institute, you know, that want to share a message, a lot of people like that, they come with some degree of hurt, of, you know, call it baggage, call it trauma, call it whatever. Like, they come with a life experience that they have learned something with it, and they want to transform that into doing good for others. So, you know, absolutely, that is something to be commended. And again, while you're going through that journey, you may spend more time below the line than you do above the line, but your intention is always to maximize how much time you're spending above the line. And this is actually, so not just from a speaker standpoint, this is actually a really good thing for your overall mental health and well-being. It's a really good thing for, you know, just how to be a better leader, how to be a better parent, how to be a better person showing up in the world. So if you're, I find that this is particularly good for people who are visual in nature, that you're just constantly thinking, where am I? Am I below? Am I above? Or tuning into people, that how do you feel if you're around someone, if they're constantly negative, or if they're constantly you know, doing that sort of victim mentality or blame, then you kind of know that below the line is not where you want to be yourself, and you don't want to be surrounded by people who are operating below the line. But where all of this comes to bear is, again, it's your confidence and certainty, because your confidence takes a hit anytime that you're below the line. That's when the little negative voice starts coming in and kind of giving you a hard time about things. Whereas the more time you can operate above the line, that is where you're being more positive. You're taking responsibility. You're taking accountability for the words that you're saying, the action that you are taking. And that translates energetically to how, you know, like how you are projecting yourself out into the world. So it's a simple tool, but a very effective way. So just as we're going through these, whether you want to scribble down some action items or notes for yourself, because this may be one that doesn't overly resonate for you, but for people who do resonate with it, maybe write down an action and think to yourself, okay, here's a couple of times a day, I'm just going to do a check-in and see, am I operating above the line, below the line? Or is there a percentage that you can say, oh, at the moment, I'm probably 20% above the line, or I'm 40%, and what do you want to build that up to? But just have it as something, just build your self-awareness around this. And even, you know, you can bring this into your work colleagues, you can bring it into your family, you can chat to your kids about it, you can chat to your partner about it. It's such an effective tool.